Hey everyone, welcome to From the Kitchen Table. I'm Sean Duffy, along with my co-host for the podcast, my partner in life, and my wife, Rachel Campos Duffy.
So we have a very important topic today, Sean.
We do.
It's about love, which is our favorite topic because love makes the world go round, right? And right now, there's a crisis of love with young people and also with people who are, divorced and trying to find love again. And we think that the problem is online dating primarily. Online dating is not working for people. And I think it's what people need to do is return. Now, let me start that over. I'm sorry about that. I'll just start from, you can use Sean's. I'll go.
Do you want to do the whole thing over again?
Dylan.
Anyone listening?
Just go.
Hey. Okay.
All right.
Hey everyone, welcome to From the Kitchen Table. I'm Sean Duffy, along with my co-host for the podcast, my partner in life, and my wife, Rachel Campos Duffy.
It's great to be back at the kitchen table, and today we have an important topic, dating, love, the most important thing in the world, and a lot of people are having a hard time, Sean.
They really are, and so we want to talk about the problems with dating right now, which is specifically online dating, and then we want to talk about solutions on how you can navigate this craziness and find love.
Find true love. So let's start by talking about how we met, because it's kind of a piece of the puzzle.
It is.
So we were talking about how people are online dating and what they're doing, and we are absolutely convinced that if we had been thrust into today's world with today's dating apps and all the texting and all the virtual relationships, we would not end up together.
We would not be together. We wouldn't have 9 kids and 24 years of marriage.
Okay, so here's why.
So here's the problem. So when we met on a reality TV show on MTV.
Yeah, which is odd. Okay, let's grant not everyone meets on reality TV.
But everyone meets in odd ways. But we meet each other, and I am a lumberjack, hickey dude from Wisconsin. I've got some pretty bad glasses, not a great haircut, and I'm wearing flannel and jeans and steel-toe boots, right? Rachel is living in LA, and I'm not her jam at all when she first sees me. And by the way, I thought Rachel was attractive, but she was a little, much for me.
No. Let's just make this clear. He was super into me, and I was not that into him because I was looking at sort of the superficial stuff. Right. But we were
Can you believe that, by the way?
I know we were forced to hang out together because we were on a Road Rules MTV show, which meant for 3 weeks we were going to hang out together. So if I had made an instant decision about Sean, which is what people are doing,
if she was forced to swipe,
if I was forced to swipe, I would have swiped.
Not just in a
left is bad, right is I don't even know.
You could take 2 seconds for a swipe, but if you took 2 hours or 2 days, even in 2 days, she still would not have swiped me.
By 2 days, I was like, you know what, this guy's really nice. But he grew on me, and that's the point. That is why we are absolutely convinced that if you want to find true love, you must get off of these apps.
But I had to be charming and somewhat funny and endearing and engaging.
He had to
and
engage.
I listened to her and I complimented her and I carried her bags. Like, I did a lot of nice things to make her go, oh, you're really nice. We should. So I had to work it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Old school work it.
So he had to work it. He had to use communication skills. He had to use, I think, the dying art of flirting. Flirting works. Flirting is important in a courtship because courtships are dead these days.
And by the way, hold on.
Flirting, stop with me.
By 1990 standards, I am not a good flirter, right? I was not that impressive. But hold on.
You were nice. That was flirting. That was great.
But my skill set that I take from the 90s to today, like, they have no skills. Like, I'd be like the master of the 90s. Because no one knows how to engage a woman, and women don't know how to engage men.
And it makes sense why they don't know, Sean, because so many people are texting
on their phones,
or they're sending a fire emoji or a heart or a smiley face, and they're not communicating. And so I think the other piece of this puzzle, outside of getting, get off the online dating, but start building up this communication skill of flirting and courtship and talking on the phone.
You're getting to the solution before we get to the problem.
Okay, let's get to the problem.
Let's talk about so give me everyone's moving away from your point courtship and they're moving online.
Yeah.
And
huge
so
percentages of people are
everyone's online, but talk to me about the stats of how successful are people who meet online. Do you find love there? Is this the pathway for a successful relationship and then marriage and then family?
So
tell me.
So I think people are falling into this for really, good reasons. Because I also, even though there was no online dating when we were dating, there weren't even cell phones when we were dating. That's how old we are, and how long we've been married. But
no, you had a cell phone. I think cell phone was just coming.
I was like this giant thing in my Volkswagen Cabriolet. It was like this giant phone, like the kind you see in the '80s movies. You're like this. There was no online dating. But I also felt very optimistic for people as they were dating. And I remember telling people, because a lot of people would come to me, because I'm a little bit of a matchmaker and people come to me with their love problems. And I'm like, are you online dating? That's great. Because I thought, like everybody else, that if you had this giant pool of people, that then you would have more people, more options, more chances of finding love. And it turns out that's not true at all. In fact, marriage is at an all-time low today. Now, doesn't mean that people don't want marriage. 44% of the people who go online are looking for a spouse. Now, the other 40% want casual dating. There's a lot of people that just want hookups. But I think people are very well-intentioned. They're going on. They want to find true love. But both the online culture and the sort of lack of talking culture that's going on in our world right now, plus the really bad habits that are created through online dating, are making their chances low. So what I'm saying is people will swipe people because they just don't look great, or they'll go on one date, and because they know there's this giant pool of people that they can meet, they're basically, letting people go because they know that even the slightest little thing, they can find somebody else.
Here's the deal.
So let me give you an example, Sean, because this just came out. This kind of went viral. This is the perfect example of what I mean. A girl, she finds somebody online that she wants to date with. They connect. They go on a date. They go out for a burger. The guy orders a cheeseburger. The waiter says, "Hey, just an FYI, the cheeseburger, the cheese is an extra $4." He rethinks it and says, "You know what? I'll hold the cheese." And she gets super turned off by this. And by the way, she recounts this on her Instagram story or whatever. And she goes to the bathroom. She's like, I got to get out of here. And she basically ends the date early because she's so turned off by this, guy who would, by the way, in the middle of a recession, turn down a $4 cheese. In her mind, she was thinking this guy's going to be a cheapskate, right? She didn't give him a chance. She, threw him out really in a very callous way over a really small thing. And he could have been Mr. Right. Other people, Sean, are throwing people out because they put in like, I only want to meet people who are 6 feet tall. So anyone who's, less than 6 feet tall, they're not even considering. So I think this online dating allows you to sort of create this idea of perfection. And ultimately, that's not what relationships are about, right?
The bottom line is, if you want to hook up, go online.
If you want to,
if you're looking for love, the data and the stats will tell you it's not working for you. You're not going to find love on some app.
Right.
And so the question becomes, well, then what should I do? What solutions should I implement in my life to make me the most
likely to find true love?
Yes.
And the answer is go back to the 80s. Go back to the 90s.
Yes, we're going to go back to the 90s for instruction on how you can find love in 2013.
Okay, so how did people meet outside of MTV reality TV shows? How did people meet in the 80s and the 90s, Sean? Think about that.
Exactly.
How did they?
Well, so we would go out with friends. Right, we'd go out in friend groups. So I have a quick story. My best friend from high school went to one college. I went to a different college. And one night, some of my college friends were going to a bar, and I invited my best friend from high school to come to that college bar, right? And my high school buddy, met one of the girls that I knew from college, they got married and now have 3 kids, right? It was that connection that brought them together. But go out with groups of people, and friends meet friends of friends, and that's how you find again people that are like-minded. Because if you have friends, probably their friends that you don't know will probably be your friend, right?
No. And by the way, Sean and I are big on the idea that opposites do not attract. That in terms of marriage and what we've learned over the 24 years that it'll be 24 years next month that we've been married is we believe that what's kept us together have been everything we have in common, our values that we share, the things that we like that we have in common. I don't think that marrying somebody, I'll just be really frank. I don't think Democrats and Republicans should get married. It's very rare that you find like a James Carville, Mary Matlin situation where, that kind of thing works out. It worked out for them, God bless them, but I don't think that's very common. So you want to find somebody that you have the most in common with, and you're right. Friend groups help to do that. The other thing is that, and this has to do with the politics of our day, people met at work. And of course, that's a little touchy now because there's been there's so much emphasis on, workplace harassment, and everyone's afraid, and we're living this litigious sexual harassment environment. And a lot of men are afraid to flirt at work, right? Because of that situation. But, I've met people who have met at work and other people criticize them. And I'm like, what? Like, way more normal to meet at work than to meet online. Like, I don't understand this world that we live in. And so obviously you want to be careful and not harass people at work. But if you like somebody at work, that's a normal, natural way. So maybe we ought to rethink that a little bit.
There are some light engagements and light flirting that someone can do
to figure out. Right?
And also flirting might just be conversations. A little extra chat at the water cooler, if you will. Yeah. And then maybe it's like, maybe people from work should go out together and grab drinks. Now, if you're going to do that, don't go get sloshed and get yourself in trouble, right? Actually have a drink, maybe 2, and that's it. So you actually maintain some control.
Right.
And that's strategic because you actually want to, again, woo this person that at work that you're interested in, and you have an opportunity outside of work going out for drinks. But don't get the liquid courage going because that, and especially today, that will end poorly.
That could end very badly
for your job and for your love life.
I think professionally as well. I would say that as soon as you meet somebody, and even if you do meet, and look, we're not living in la la land where we think you're never going to be online on an online dating app. I say give yourself a diet of it, like get off of it for a few months and see how it goes by just being. Stop living in this facsimile, faux, fake world of online virtual. But okay, if you do meet someone, immediately go to the phone. Do not have a text relationship because I think what text relationships, when you just meet, they create a level of, first of all, I think it can seem like you're closer than you actually are. There is no substitute for eye-to-eye contact, dates, meeting, talking. And again, as you mentioned, Sean, people's dating skills, flirting skills, conversational skills have all gone down the tubes because of all the phone stuff. So this is your chance to build up that skill set. So get on the phone, go meet in person, go date in person.
See, you can't save everyone out there who's looking for love, but you can save your own love life. And that means figure out yourself how to talk to people. Because again, I'm sorry, there's a lot of grunting and like animalistic behavior, and then the phone, right? Learn how to talk.
Grunting? What are you
like
talking about?
They can't communicate.
Like one sentence, kind of one word, kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot of
emoji. Right.
Yeah,
and love. Thumbs up. Stop that.
Where else people met, Sean?
So call.
Yes.
Learn how to flirt in a responsible way. Learn how to have conversations, and if you can do those things, they're actually because we're human. The person you're trying to flirt with will find that kind of attractive. They'll actually kind of like it, and they'll probably start to feed off of you and do the same thing back. They'll stop texting. But if you have that skill, you are light years ahead of the competition in finding love and finding a good person that you want. You want to bring in. You're out fishing, you want to bring them in.
It takes time. So we talked about meeting people at work. The other place people met in the 80s was at the gym. I met lots of guys when I went to the gym.
You did?
And now these girls
What?
are so annoying. Like you see these girls that are like, filming guys and accusing them of staring at them. Well, I mean, this is the problem. Like people are just, Anyway, I met a lot of guys at the gym when I was at the university, and I thought that was a really normal. You get, as you said, Sean, you get to know what someone's like. If they're healthy, they work out, they have the same interest as you do in that regard.
Well, I did not meet people at the gym because I didn't go to the gym. But I'll just tell you this: a lot of posers. I'm sorry, I wouldn't find. I wouldn't find Jim. I mean, I don't know, some little tricky gym rat. I don't know.
We're talking about the '80s. Like, where did people meet?
So the mall. We go to the mall. You guys can go to the mall and you can Stranger Things.
Amazon's really
hang out. They are. Amazon is screwing everything up. If you just go back to the mall, love would be like so easy again.
Or the arcade, Sean. Remember that? Or what is it like?
Orange Julius.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Just recreate Stranger Things. Recreate Stranger Things.
Don't turn the podcast off. We're kidding. But
this is serious stuff. Like, honestly, clearly people are not happy. And let's talk about the end game here.
Listen, but if you go to church, you meet good people at church, right? Like-minded people of faith. They're probably a little more conservative if they're going to church. That's actually not a bad place. And also, if you're a nice person when you go to church and you meet some of the other little ladies that are at church, they might go, "Oh, I have my granddaughter. She's just such a cute little button.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring her next week, and we can."
You got to let those ladies know that you're in the market, and that's part of the
thing.
thing.
And you never know how love comes in your life. People come in your life, and you have to put yourself out there. To your point, Rachel, and tap every resource that you have to bring that special person that you're going to have a whole bunch of little babies with into your life.
And the problem with online dating is that it's the lazy man's way of dating.
Yes,
it's the lazy man's way of dating. You have to just cut out the apps, get rid of them, and start putting yourself out there. Build your communication skills.
You're worth more than that. Yeah. Don't make yourself so easy.
Yeah.
Make someone, right? Don't you can't even get a swipe over me. You got to come and engage me and woo me and make me laugh.
Really, you know what? I know we said it earlier, but it really needs to be said. If I had made a 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 month decision on Sean, we would not be together. He took time to woo me, and I fell in love with him because of that. And it wasn't instantaneous. And that's, I think, what online dating, this is the false sort of ideas that get developed because of it. And I want to bring up another thing when you're done, but go ahead.
We mentioned us and how that happened, but I think there are some people who see each other and they're like, this was love at first sight. And I believe that.
It happens.
But most people, that's not the way it happens.
Yeah,
it does take some time and some conversation and some wooing
and getting to know people
to get the other person to maybe see through some of those initial faults that one might have or initial maybe rejections that you would swipe across if you're online. You do get through those things and you don't even see them anymore. Yeah. And again, the time frame and the engagement is what matters to do that. And again, that's how love happens. That's how most married people get to be married, is they take that time, and the apps don't allow for that.
Right. There's some other impediments that I think are really unique to this generation that is making it harder for them to meet people. So now the average age that a boy encounters pornography online is age 11 now. Super young. So you're seeing young people growing up because of the phones and social media and how these pornographers target young people, and it's become really normalized, and not just for guys but for girls. And again, this is another distortionary facsimile kind of thing that's happening, and I think it's distorting people's perception of love and sex and what real people look like and act like. And I think it's super destructive. If you are addicted to porn, and there are millions of people out there who are addicted to porn, you got to address that problem, because that's not just going to affect your ability to find a mate. It's going to hurt your marriage in the long term. We're actually going to try and do a show on this topic, because I think it's so important to that piece of the puzzle of why young people aren't able to form relationships the way they did in the past. So that is something that's in your life that you need to work on. Then you need to work on that, because that's part of that piece of the puzzle.
Here's the problem. What people see on their screen with pornography doesn't match what real life is like. And if all you've seen is pornography and then you experience the real thing, it can be a letdown. It's not what the production of the porn is. And that distortion can have a huge impact on people's ability to, one, engage each other, but also be satisfied, with their partner. And also, for some men, functionality has become a problem.
There's an epidemic of erectile dysfunction for young men.
I wasn't sure I could say that, but I guess Rachel says I can say.
They can't perform because they are addicted to porn. We're going to get into that on another episode, but that's just a piece of the puzzle I think we need to address as part of this.
I think you're right, and again, setting expectations. And it just also you've talked about this as well. When you do that dating apps, it's the best picture, the airbrush photo with the best makeup. I talk about Rachel.
The filters.
Listen, Rachel looks great with the lighting and the makeup at Fox. Amazing. She doesn't quite look like that at 3 a.m. when she wakes up to go into the studio. It looks a little bit different.
I do love Fox lighting.
But if you present, yourself as, the Fox, makeup and hair and lighting, and then you get, the not lighting, not the filter, not the makeup, not the hair, but you just get you.
Well, you still dress up for your first date.
No, I know, right? but no one gets the Fox hair and makeup, right? You don't get that part of it. You still look great, though.
The lighting.
And my point is, the same thing happens.
There can be disappointment if you see somebody who's super filtered and super airbrushed online, and then you meet in person. There's obviously going to be some of that disappointment. So here's the last phase of what we want to talk about here.
Final phase.
Final phase is, we live in a culture that does not prioritize love and marriage. It's an anti-child, anti-family, anti-marriage culture. It tells women and men to prioritize their careers. And listen, I love my career, and my professional life, is very fulfilling to me. And I know Sean can say the same for himself, but my belief, and I feel very strongly about this, is that the message that people like Sheryl Sandberg, is giving women that, put your foot on the gas pedal, don't let go, go, career. I tell young women all the time, and they come to me and they ask me questions all the time about love and marriage, because that's like one of my favorite things to talk about. And I tell them, prioritize your love life. I'm sure if Fox and Friends knew how many young producers I've told to prioritize their love life, and if that schedule's not working for them, they ought to move on to another show that gives them a better balance of for their social life. Listen, it's so important. Love in marriage is the most important thing, because if you find the right mate, all your other dreams, professionally and otherwise, will work themselves out with the right person. If you marry the wrong person, or if you just end up not marrying and you really do want to marry, you will be unhappy. And so you have to make marriage and date. And if you want to make marriage a priority, then you've got to make dating a priority, and dating in the right way that will give you the best results. And I say this because I don't think that I would be, when you're young and you're in your 20s, Sean, you don't ever think you'll be 40 or 50, but the truth is it happens.
It does happen.
It happens. You get older, and you have to think ahead about what you want 20, 30 years from now, and there are things you have to do in your 20s and 30s in terms of your love life to make that happen.
And those who try to find a mate in their 20s, there's a lot of people in their 20s that aren't married, and they have, limited baggage. But if you do your career and wait until your 30s
or 40,
a lot of people are already picked. They've already been taken. They're already in, a marriage, and the pickings are slimmer. Or you might have someone coming out of a marriage, they're divorced, and inherently there's a little more baggage that comes with that from that past relationship. You have an ex-spouse, bad habits. You might have kids, and then so that's again you don't have the same kind of pickings as you do in your 20s. But then if you're in your 40s and 50s, and maybe you were married and you're divorced, and now you're coming back into the scene, and it's you have everyone's coming you have a recycling happening. Making it a priority, again, because people come in and they want to find a second love life, and they come in and they find someone and they get out. So if you're not engaged, you might miss that right person who's been divorced, still a great person, and you'd be a perfect match. But if you're just swiping people online, it's like, listen, Again, by the way, if you're 50, you lived through the 80s and the 90s. Go back to what you know.
Go back to what you know.
Go back to what worked for you.
Yeah. I will say, back to your point about, how much wider your options are in your 20s and your early 30s. Let's just be really honest about it. It's true. And also the beautiful thing about finding somebody, we met in our late 20s.
Yeah.
And we weren't totally formed and in our habits. And so, it can be really hard to date and find somebody, later on in life when you're sort of, stuck in the mud in terms of what you like. I think part of what worked for us is that, we were able to adjust to each other easier because we didn't really form a lot of habits in a single life yet, right? Yeah. And I think so there's some real positive things about starting early. I think this idea of, putting career first and waiting until you're in your 40s, it's not working. And you can see it in the stats. People are unhappy. Record number of young people depressed. Record number of people who want to be married aren't married, aren't finding the right people. So let's just
recognize that.
Let's just sum this up. For people, if they have to sum it up, what we're saying here. 1.
Top Gun.
2.
The Mall.
The Mall.
Right.
Stranger Things. The Arcade.
The classics.
Dairy Queen.
Yes. Orange Julius. Yes. This is what Rachel in that 90s gym. Right.
Oh, boy. Okay. No, seriously, Sean, the point is, Think about what people did in the 80s and 90s, how they met people, the communication skills, work on the art of flirting, courtship, talking on the phone instead of texting.
That's right.
Deleting your apps and don't do pornography, and just try for a few months to do everything you can to get out there socially, let everyone in your circle know that you want to meet someone. And I think it will happen for you.
And by the way, just a side note, I see this with my own kids, and I see this with all these young people. They're on their phones all the time, and they just text each other. They can all be in the same room together, and they're texting each other, all sitting around in one room. It's crazy. And you guys, if you're younger, you know that. The problem is if you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to talk, again, and this, we've been talking about dating and the relationship building. But what you're doing if you're getting off your phone and you're actually talking to someone, that's actually setting you up for a healthy marriage. Because when you have trouble in your marriage, and you all will, everyone gets in fights. It's not just roses, sunshines, and unicorns. You will fight with your spouse, and it's a healthy thing. And if you get through it, the marriage is beautiful. But you don't win a gold medal at the Olympics and stand on the podium because it was easy. It was really hard to get there. It's not this hard for marriage, but you do have to work at it.
Really hard.
But it takes the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just text your wife through a fight or do text wars. No. That's not the way you resolve things.
And they're the worst fight. The worst fights we have are text wars. So we don't do it anymore. It's just a dumb way to do it.
So not only is talking, getting off your phone going to help you find a spouse, but then it's going to help you stay married with that spouse because you'll have the skill sets and the tools for a long-lasting, healthy marriage that you can navigate through the tough times.
You know what, Sean? You bring up such a good point.
Thank you.
Dana Perino, our friend Dana Perino, met her husband on an
airplane. It's the greatest story ever.
It's the greatest story. She found the love of her life on an airplane.
Yes.
Nowadays,
Peter is a wonderful guy.
I was thinking about Dana. Yeah, she met Peter there, and I would never meet someone on an airplane anymore because I'm guilty when I get on the plane. And I'm not trying to meet anyone, by the way.
Thank you.
Airplane.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
But I mean, everyone's on their phone. No one sits. In fact, most people sit down and go, I hope the guy next to me or the lady next to me doesn't talk to me, right? That's how most people are these days because we've become so antisocial as a culture. And yet, if I think back to the 80s, I remember having some great conversations with people, not even romantic, but just I remember sitting and talking to the people next to me on the plane.
Because there was no internet, there was no videos, no videos would play, and you had no phone. So it's like if you want to entertain yourself, you're like, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
What do you do?
That's so 80s.
Fancy seeing you here in 32C. But point well made. And again, those skill sets were actually healthy.
So let's bring back communication. Let's bring back flirting. Let's bring back dating.
And let's put away the apps.
And put away the apps. And definitely put away the porn.
So just a couple ideas to navigate a situation today in America for love that's not working.
Yeah.
People aren't finding love there. So go to the places that you can find love and build the skill sets that'll help you find the right mate and be successful with that mate.
Yeah, and into the future. So listen, we want to do a part 2 on this.
We do?
Right, we are. We're going to do a part 2 on this.
We're going to further unpack.
We're going to unpack your questions. So for all of you who are listening to this, if you have some specific questions, we'd love to hear them. I'm going to put immediately after the show, I'm going to post online. When this gets posted, we're going to put a question on there, like a place where you can put your questions and you can put them in the comments. And we're going to do a part 2 where we answer all your very specific questions about our advice. Maybe you think we're crazy. Maybe you think we're just...
Tell us that.
But
we're not. By the way, we're right.
I think we're right.
You see the gray hair?
Right. Yeah.
Listen.
That's wisdom.
We're right.
That's wisdom. I think we're right. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us what we're
going to come
missing.
back. And if whether it's on this or anything else you want to ask questions, feel free, jump in. So listen, after the podcast, we're going to put up our digits.
Yeah, I'm going to post this episode with a spot for people to put questions in.
Great.
All right. Well, this is going to be our first. By the way, Sean, this is going to be our first time doing Q&A, the new 3rd episode a week of Q&A.
3rd episode a week. Wow.
So we'll do that and get your questions into us. You can ask us anything you want. Tell us anything you want. We're ready to answer.
We can't wait. It's going to be fun.
All right.
So listen, thanks for joining us on this lovely episode of From the Kitchen Table.
It's the 80s retro
version.
That's
right. Why don't you pull your phone up and tell me what I'm supposed to say?
Oh, right. I left my phone over.
Because if you like our podcast, we'd ask that you rate, review, subscribe. If you want to listen ad-free, you can go to foxnewspodcast.com. And if you subscribe to the Plus version, I'm going off the top of my head on this. It's going to bring in Apple. And yes, you get us ad-free. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can get us ad-free there as well. But we appreciate
subscribe. We really appreciate it if
we
you
love
subscribe.
That.
Then you'll get a notice whenever we
drop our podcast.
That's right.
All right. Listen, thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye. See you around the kitchen table next time.